And so if you're listening to this thinking, I can't go through this again, I need to delete the apps, like, good, go back to yourself for a while. You know, your husband isn't on Hinge. Just remind yourself that your husband isn't on Hinge because you're not on Hinge. You're not on Hinge, and yet you are secure, single, totally happy with how your life's going at the moment. You're not on Hinge. So that doesn't mean that the person that you're going to meet has to be on Hinge. They could be in the coffee shop, they could be in the library, they could be in the gym, they could be in the airport. And welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself and Lou. We are back on YouTube. So sorry about my hiatus last week. I had really bad eczema. I don't think you can actually see it now, but my eczema all flared up on my chin. And sometimes I think you could cover it up with makeup, fine. But sometimes I just think, like I was saying last week, all the harsh chemicals that you have to take your makeup off with, it's not great for eczema. So I didn't want to show up not looking my best. So I feel a lot better this week, although I think I'm coming down with a cold, which is very annoying, but really just typical of me this year, at this time of year, because I just get everything, like absolutely everything. If there's a cold going around, I'll get it. If there's a bug going around, I'll get it. I'm just so susceptible to getting poorly. And I take vitamins. I take a Berocca every day. I'm healthy. I'm active. I get lots of fresh air. I'm unsure why I get ill so often. However, I feel fine, and I am very excited to do this episode today. I have had a lot of new podcast followers, Patreon followers, and Instagram followers over the last probably month. I was looking at my analytics the other day, and I don't tend to look at follower count because there was a period of like growth that wasn't growth for me. And a lot of last year I was creating content and people were seeing it, and I was getting, the messages. And I always say, like, to people, like, if I just help one person, but these days I wake up and I probably have about 3 or 4 new message requests in the morning, and that like gets more and more throughout the day. And so I know I'm reaching the right people, but the only way sometimes you can sort of have a look and see and measure growth is by follower count. And I cannot believe that I think it was June this year, I had 16,000 followers on Instagram, and now I have 44, I think. And that to me is mental, because it means that my content is actually, one, helping people, and people come back for more. And you can see on your Instagram analytics, you can see the return rate on your page. And mine's almost 100% every time, which means the people that follow me come back to find my content, which is really good. And I want to start posting clips of my podcast on my Instagram. I need to time it right, because it makes me nervous, and it's a lot of sort of like work as well. Being able to split these hour-long episodes into small clips, it does take a lot of time. And recently, I have been working so hard. I've decided that I want to redo my downstairs of my house. It's just a bit kind of time consuming and like quite heavy on my bank account, but I'm constantly working. So much so that I actually went and saw my mum and dad last night. I used to go around and see them a lot more at the start of the year when my content was bringing in enough people, but now my content keeps me so busy. I went and saw my mum and dad last night, and I was like, that's me really. I've just been working, just working really hard, just really busy. Classic, my line that everyone just takes the mick out of me all the time with. Just been really busy. And mum was like, but you got nothing to tell me. I was like, yeah, like I've done this on Instagram, I've achieved this on Instagram, I've achieved this on TikTok. So many people have bought my courses this month. And mum was like, this is all about work. And I was like, this is all about what this year was about. And I saw something interesting literally just before I started recording this, and I don't know whether you do follow him, a guy called James Smith, and he is a Brit living in Australia. He has always sort of inspired me because he is brutally honest. He takes no prisoners, and I like that kind of thing. I like tough love. And he has posted his analytics from 2000. I think he said he started posting in 2014. And he didn't see a rise in his content until 2017. And he was like, it's taken me 3 years to get here. And I was looking and it really resonated with me. I mean, he's got millions of followers, but like they've obviously built up over time. But it did really resonate with me because I started my running account in 2021. I started this podcast in 2023. And the growth that I've had this year has been huge. And he went on to say that, like, you know, he posted when times were hard. He posted when he wasn't getting any views. I remember posting a reel once and it just getting like 1,000 views, and I was absolutely buzzing. And you should be, because my account at the time, I still had like 10,000 followers, but I was only getting like 1,000 views on my reels. And I was like, do I feel disheartened about this, or do I actually think, hold on a second, that's 1,000 people? And now I can't even imagine like everybody that follows me being in a room. We wouldn't fit in a room, like 44,000 people. Like when I think about that, I think like, wow, like that's massive. And sometimes I think like people feel worried about speaking about their success on the ratio to followers. And you'll see a lot of people online saying, you know, it's not about the following. It kind of is sometimes, because without the following, I wouldn't be able to do this. So like I wouldn't be able to create content. And through the times where I have had a dip in, you know, interest in my content, and I will always say that like I am a classic content creator, which means that I wouldn't be able to post, I don't think I'd be able to post without the use of hashtags and without the use of trending sounds. I'm unsure how much reach my content would get if I didn't use those. And all it takes is for you to jump on that one trend and you blow up. And for me, it was the trend of single women in their 30s. I jumped on that trend. I'm dancing in a pub. I got so much hate for it. That's probably the worst, like the most amount of hate that I have got in my online career was that of me dancing in my local pub that my friend literally just took on a whim. And if you didn't know me, you would think, why is she sat in a pub full of men? It did look bad. But like if you knew me, you'd know that like the people that I was with was the rugby team that I have recently, well, not recently, but like in the last year and a half, spent a lot of time with. And the reason why I like spending a lot of time with them is because one, my best friend plays for the team. And two, they do stuff on a Saturday. And when you're on your own, it's hard to find stuff to do sometimes at the weekend. And I'll say like, I'm manic, I'm this, I'm here, there and everywhere. But like when it comes to the weekends, you know, a lot of my friends are with their like boyfriends, with their husbands, with their children. Like that rugby team has kind of like saved me in a way. And the lads are wicked and we really get on. And I went to watch them play the other day and everyone was coming up and hugging me like, oh, hi Liz. And it was so nice. And I really enjoy that kind of like socialization, like the Saturday afternoon in the pub, especially in the winter. Like, I mean, I'm saying in the winter, it's gorgeous sunshine, but like this is perfect weather to go and watch the rugby, go and have a nice glass of like red wine in the pub in the afternoon. Like, so nice. But I know how that video came across, and it did just like I sat with a group of boys. I was actually sat with the entire rugby team, and majority of them were younger than me. But that trend, that one, and one to do with pulling out the London Marathon were the two trends for me that catapulted my content out there. And ever since, I have just grown and grown and grown from there. And yeah, it's been like wild, and I think I am trying to still adjust as to how my weeks go, how my weeks work, how I get the most out of my time, how I get the best out of my time. And I'm still kind of juggling that a little bit, but that's sometimes why like my Patreon episodes the last couple of weeks have been like I've been doubling up. So I've been posting like 4 episodes every 2 weeks because it's been hard to navigate everything and sit down. And obviously these videos are an hour, my podcast episodes are an hour, and Then it takes me about an hour and a half to edit them. And then I move on to my Patreon. And my Patreoners, and I really hope that they do agree with this, my replies on Patreon are in depth. They're in depth. I hope they're informative. I take a long time to reply to my Patreon. And I've had people say to me, like, why do you charge £5 a month? You should be charging so much more than that, like a therapist. I charge £5 a month because of the sensitive content over there and because I take time to reply to the comments over there. There's going to be more over there. I have actually just bought some new equipment to start my single girl series over there. It's going to be like dead chilled. You're probably going to see me show up over there with no makeup on, but that's a series that I'm going to start over there. And I'm excited. My Patreoners are like my guinea pigs. I always try things over there first with them. Like, let me try this with you. So there's a lot going on. So like I always say, if you want more episodes, I got such a nice review the other day. They said that my Patreon episodes, someone said they listened to a 10-minute episode over and over and over and over and over and over and again. And by the time they got to work, they felt fine. That's why I create those episodes. They're small, digestible episodes where I talk about cheating, I talk about money, I talk about moods, I talk about how to get out of a funk of like your breakup, I talk about everything over there, and I'm seeing that grow as well, and it just fills my heart because I had somebody over there the other day just that said like they didn't need me anymore, and it was so nice. And I still need to find him on Instagram because I need to reply to him. See, like, it's so funny because people message me and they're like, you probably get loads of DMs. I know I'm not probably going to get a reply. And I'm like, why would you think that? Why would you think as a content creator like that I wouldn't reply? And I know that hopefully one day I'll sit here and be like, there's a team of us, you know, and and I've got help now, but there will never be a time where I don't not reply, because the whole point of my page was to make sure that you feel supported, validated, and not alone. And I take a lot of pride in replying to all of my DMs. And so if you want more episodes and you want a more in-depth chat, I am working towards something at the moment where I'll be offering, I want to say more coaching than therapy, because I'm not a qualified therapist. I have to be really careful about what I say sometimes as well with my therapist, because it is therapized advice. I always check with my therapist before. She's also, by the way, enjoying her retirement so much. She retired at the start of October and I have seen her once. She has a handful of clients that she said that she'll see ad hoc. I'm one of those clients, thank God. And I feel supported still. I don't know whether I'm going to look for a new therapist. She has some people in the industry that she knows that she can recommend. And so who knows? We'll see. But right now I'm allowed to still see her. Thank God. Because, I mean, at one point I was seeing her twice a week. So, and I laugh about it now, but it was not funny at the time. So yeah, I have to be careful, but I am working towards a sort of, I would say like a coaching, breakup coaching sort of vibe. It's coming in the new year. There's a little bit of a spoiler. It's not coming this side of Christmas. I can tell you that for sure. Far too bloody pity. So yeah, if you do want more episodes like this, you are more than welcome to come join me on my Patreon. It is £5 a month. It gets you 2 extra additional episodes a week. Sometimes I don't post them every week. Like I said, at the moment I'm posting like 4 every like 2 weeks. So you primarily get 8 additional episodes a month, basically. And you can chat to me over there. Like I said, I reply a lot quicker over there. I look at my DMs on my Patreon first. I reply to my DMs on my Instagram probably around once, twice a week. That one went through 190 message requests yesterday. Anyway, I know you are here because the episode title of this podcast, I'm hoping, is going to bring a lot of people in, and it's going to feel like a nice girly chat, because in fact I will start from the top. So Around this year, if you have been here for a while, you will know that I will download a dating app because I don't know what it is. It's usually in October. I'm like, let me just see what's out there. I've done the whole summer without having anyone. I've said that this year is not about men, and sometimes I just forget. And if there is anything that I'm good at doing, I'm good at being a self-aware queen. I'm so self-aware. A lot of people that aren't self-aware do say that, but trust me, I am self-aware. I know that sometimes I don't take my own advice. I will sit here and I'll preach. And I remember one of my friends once said to me, you literally empower other women to be strong. Why are you not being strong in this scenario, this certain scenario a few years ago? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I know. Like, why am I not taking my own advice? So I am a bit of a nightmare when it comes to taking my own advice sometimes. And I don't know what it is, but October just seems to be the time where I download Hinge. So I downloaded Hinge and immediately I regretted it. And I was like, feel deflated. I feel like everything I felt like this time last year, I feel again. And then I was like, no, power through. It's different now. I don't know why I thought it was different. I think I felt different than I did last year. Every single year I seem to kind of nail more down like what I want out of a relationship. But there was there was the whole like thing that made me feel weird. My plans next year do not warrant me having a relationship. And you could argue, yeah, well, you know, if someone comes along, that is different. But I was actively looking. Me being on a dating website was me actively looking for somebody. And I thought, what am I doing? Anyway, I powered on. This girl powered through. I went on 2 dates, and that has brought me to make this episode. I've called this episode, Your Husband is Not on Hinge. Now, I will caveat that. I know 3 couples actually. My brother and my sister-in-law, they met on a dating website. A guy that I used to work for, him and his wife met on a dating website. And one of my really close friends, her friend who we spend some time with, her and her husband met on a dating website. I know it can be done. I get that. I get it. And sometimes I think maybe I will find somebody on Hinge. But I found myself looking, not out of desperation, but like looking like I'm feeling really deflated. Like, oh, there's no one on here that is my type. And, you know, I don't want to have to sit and look through every single night, blah, 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 blah. And my eldest sister, literally, I came back from the second date and I said to my sister, I've completely lost my path on the fact that my life is going to look so different next year, hopefully. Hopefully I'm going to have made big location plans. Don't really know how somebody, if I met them now who was looking for a serious relationship, I'm not entirely sure how that would go down. Would I change my plans? I'm not sure. And she literally looked at me and she went, Lou, your husband is not on Hinge. And I was like, yeah, but, and she said, no, you've not been on Hinge for the whole year. And you said to me that you are going to attract somebody into your life. She was like, Hinge goes against all of that. And I was like, yes, it really does. Hinge really goes against all of that. And it got my mind ticking over because like it just took my sister to say to me, your husband isn't on Hinge. And I know that a lot of my friends that are single, they're not on dating websites either. So people are out there, they're just not on Hinge. And I mean, there are other dating apps around, but that's just the one that I use. I find it the most user-friendly, the nicest. And it was so weird because then I had a conversation with I still call her my sister-in-law, my old sister-in-law. We basically were dating brothers and they both split up with us, and we've stayed in really good contact. Like we talk to each other all the time. I absolutely adore her. I absolutely adore her, and we just bounce off of each other. We love each other so much. But even she said to me, she was like, we're not on dating app websites, so that means that like other good people aren't on dating websites as well. And I was like, that is so true. I was like, so weird. My sister said exactly the same thing. And she was like, yeah, like we're not going to find our husbands on Hinge. And I was like, I mean, I love the universe, but it's just, the universe just giving me loads of signs. I've said, and I know that I've said, and I said at the start of the year, I've said it throughout the whole of this year, that 2026, I am going to get serious. I'm going to write down exactly what I want in a man, in a husband, everything. And I'm going to get serious about manifesting a man into my life in 2026. Why am I looking on dating websites in October in 2025? Didn't make sense. So then I thought, can't be the only one doing this. I think it's the time of year. So that has brought me to making this episode, and I'm going to go through this episode and hopefully give you some really great advice and talk through some things and give you some examples and share some stories that is going to make you feel so much better about going into this season single, because it is tough. And all you want to do is cuddle somebody and put your cold feet on them at night. But I shared something quite poignant on my Instagram story the other day. Do not let somebody that you meet now ruin your summer plans for next year. Now, your summer plans might not be as extravagant as you think, and you might not want to move to another country, but do not let this season lower your standards, doubt yourself, and give people that shouldn't have had a chance a chance. So, without further ado, guys, this is going to be a great episode. I'm very excited to do this episode. I'm very excited to be back, to be fair, on camera. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, as always, guys, my notes are just there. So if I look over to that side of the screen, I am just referring to my notes just to make sure that I cover everything I wanted to cover as I sit and I scribble down so many ideas for each episode that I do. So yeah, if my eyes just shift over there, it's because I'm reading my notes. So I found myself back on Hinge. Let's start there. Because somebody might be able to relate to this. I found myself back on Hinge. I found myself scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, no. Everybody knows with Hinge that if you pay, you can get really down to the nitty gritty. And I would never not pay because, one, I am not interested in dating somebody with children. Two, I am not dating somebody who is 5'8" or below. I'm 5'9". I'm quite tall. I want to know that I can wear heels with people. It's important to me. Call me shallow? I don't think it is. I wear heels all the time. I wear heeled boots in the winter. I wear stilettos when I go out. I want to, date somebody that I can wear heels and feel comfortable in. Not to say there is anything wrong with a short king. But for me, it's just personal preference. I just prefer to date somebody that's tall. I also nailed down the distance because I think an hour is about as much long distance as I would be willing to do. So I always pay, I think it's £14 a week. Whoever created these dating websites, they must be absolutely minted. I actually might do that this afternoon. See, getting distracted. I might actually find out who created these dating websites because they must be absolutely rolling in it. Anyway, so sometimes I give myself a month, sometimes I give myself a week, and then that's it. So I gave myself a week, I paid £14, nailed it down. And there was some quite attractive men coming through, and I thought, this is quite good. And I'm quite specific with what they do for work. I quite like a tradesman. In fact, no, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I like a tradesman. I like a tradie. They have the personality to go with it. Love a chatty, bantery type guy. I'm not saying that people that work in offices aren't like that, but that is just the type of man that I find attractive. 2024, I flipped that on its head and I dated men that had office, very serious jobs. And it just wasn't for me. So I followed my heart with this one and I thought, I'm going to take interest in what they do for work. I'm going to have a look and see if, they say builder, electrician, carpenter, plumber, groundsman, whatever. So I was quite specific and I thought, pulling through some quite attractive men, great. And was looking and scrolling. And then when I was liking somebody, it was almost straight away I was like, oh my God, what happens if they don't like me? And when you like somebody and they don't like you back and you don't get that match, it makes you start thinking that like, oh my God, all these like nice men, either they've just got Hinge profiles and they're not looking at them, they've X'd me, they don't like the look of me, or all the good men have gone into hiding. And that's what I was starting to feel like. All the good men have got into hiding. So dramatic. I want to make sure by the end of this episode that you stop chasing because of the lack of something, and you start sort of attracting from a place of alignment. And currently right now, I'm not sure who I would align with because I haven't got a solid plan for next year. So if someone was to say to me like, hey, what is it that you're interested in? Yes, I am completely ready to open my heart up to a long-term relationship. Of course I am. But with that, I want to move. So, you know, it's like, it's hard. So I know that people could argue, yeah, well, if you want to move, then, you know, how does that work? But I don't know who I could attract. I could attract somebody into my life who already has an interest in traveling around and moving to different places. And this is what I've had to sit down and remind myself of, because this is where you become really close-minded. And just because you want to move doesn't mean like, you know, and I say move, I don't want to live out the country for 6 months. I mean, you can't live out the country for any longer than 90 days in the EU, but you have to come back. But I'm not going to close myself down and think that that person who also wants the same as me isn't out there, because then I'm just telling myself that the person doesn't exist, and I'll just attract in people that want to stay in the UK. Somebody could be out there. I exist. I have those plans. I have those dreams. I have a job where I can work from anywhere in the world. Like, there are people as well in the world that have that same ability. So the fact that I'm sat on Hinge looking at people who have got jobs that potentially you can't move around, it just reiterates the fact that, like, am I looking for something that doesn't exist? Am I looking for something that people are going to turn around and say, you're never going to find somebody like that? Well, why is that the case when I have those dreams and I have those plans? So if I exist, why doesn't the male version of me exist? So I want to just start with the fact that online dating is exhausting. It's exhausting. And like, my sister's so funny because my sister and her girlfriend met online, but my eldest sister met her husband in a nightclub in Birmingham. And she was, funnily enough, going to move countries. She was moving to New Zealand. And she went on, I think it was like their third date they'd gone on. They went to Jamaica, and she was like, yeah, she was having the best time. And I remember her just telling me about her dating, and like, she dated so many different people, and she's like always encouraging me to go out and just live my dating like best life, because she had the best time. But yeah, she was just like, you know, dating around and, you know, being taken out. And she said that she used to have her dinner paid for like 3 times a week and stuff like that. And then she met my brother-in-law, and she ended up not moving to New Zealand, which was recognised in his speech on their wedding day. Like, he is so aware that like she changed her plans for him. And thank God, because now I have the most incredible scrumptious nephews, and I have the best brother-in-law that I could ever wish for. And he is definitely somebody that I go through for career advice, for boy advice, everything. Like, I have gained like one of the most incredible humans in my life. Why do I feel emotional talking about my brother-in-law? Like, honestly, I love him to death. And she was saying to me the other day, she was like, online dating sounds terrifying. It's exhausting. And I was like, yeah, I know it is exhausting. You know, you tell yourself, right, fresh start. Me, in a couple of weeks ago, fresh start. Brilliant. I'm ready. Let's see what's out there. And then within 3 days, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, there's nobody tall out there. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, why are all these men small? Why am I gonna like? I'm gonna be like an Amazonian woman, like towering over these men. Why is that? Why is there nobody out there that is like over 6 foot? I don't understand. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I talked myself out of it, and I'd paid for a week, and I kept having to come back and say, no, like, power through. And I'd realized that like I was trying to connect with somebody through a screen, and a lot of my sort of doubt about dating came from the fact that I know that this is going to sound like not big-headed, but like I know I'm better in person on paper and how I talk about coming out of a 14-year relationship and the fact that I have a social media account which is built on my breakup. It's hard to convey that through a screen. And I also don't like the fact that people can make themselves look different in photos. I know I don't, but like there could be, someone could meet me in person and be like, she looks nothing like her photos. I don't know why they think that, but like I like chemistry. I like being with somebody or being around somebody where I can tell there is chemistry, and like the eye contact and the looks and like the flirty stuff. And I like going out, and New Year's Eve my best friend was like, you're so confident just approaching men. And I was like, yeah, because I like flirting. I like the eye contact. I like the banter. I like bouncing off of somebody. You don't get that through a screen, like at all. When I was saying to my sisters, like, I'm going to meet somebody organically, and they're like, righto, where? And I'm like, an airport. And I always tell this story. I'm like, I'm going to meet somebody in an airport. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that I'm going to meet somebody in an airport, and I'm going to call my mum and be like, hey, I'm not coming home. I'm going on this flight so-and-so to here. And that's just how it's going to be. Online dating is just like small talk after small talk after small talk. People are like, hey, how are you? What are you up to? 3 days later. Hey, so sorry I didn't reply. What are you like? Maybe I'm just not interesting enough. Maybe people don't want to talk to me. Maybe that person isn't just out there. And I am here to remind you that you are not the problem. You are not the problem. The system is. The system's the problem. Like, apps are designed to keep you scrolling. I am certain that the unpaid version of Hinge pulls up some really attractive men that are 5'6". And I'm like, so I keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling because I'm going to find a tall man. That's the system. That's how it works. It keeps you hoping, it keeps you hooked in, and it keeps you checking. And people and app developers will measure the time that people are on their apps as well for the success rate, to be able to say, let's push out this feature, let's do that. How many people are scrolling? How many, like, you are all part of the system. You are sat and you are feeding into analytics for somebody who has designed this dating app. Your husband that is going to hold you at 2 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep, make you laugh until you can't breathe, is not on Hinge. And I'm going to tell you this again. He's not on Hinge because he doesn't need to be on Hinge. He is out there growing. He is out there learning. He is out there making himself the best version of himself. So then when he bumps into you in an airport, he's going to be the best version of himself. And that is hard. And I know I get a lot of pushback off people like, how do you know that, Lou? How do you know that? I don't. But if you are sick of online dating and you are really struggling with staying positive about online dating, then how else are you supposed to think about it? You're going to have to flip something on its head in order for you to be positive about dating in general. And I know I have a lot of listeners that love talking to me and speaking to me about manifesting, but that is how manifesting works. You are staying positive and knowing that your future husband isn't sat on Hinge scrolling endlessly, telling chicks like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with you, love bombing people and liking other people's profile pictures, liking other people's things. That's not your future husband. Your future husband is doing what you're doing. Your future husband is sat there doing the work that you're doing. So then when you bump into each other, you might have written down, I'm going to bump into my husband in a coffee shop. I'm going to bump into my husband at a football match. When you bump into each other, that chemistry is going to be there instantly and you will know. And that spark will be like, bam. And you'll go, ha, my husband wasn't on Hinge. And I know it's hard because these months are hell. They're hell on earth. They're the best months because it's my birthday and I'm a Scorpio. Scorpio season. It's my birthday on the 15th of November. I'm very excited. I have some great plans with my friends. However, I am a summer baby. And I love the heat. And when the weather turns like, I mean, I keep saying this, it's just big fat sunshine, blue sky, it's perfect winter weather. Don't get me wrong, when it's like this, I absolutely love the winter. I love wrapping up, love the big coats, you know, I love the hot chocolates, I love the cute vibes. I love all of that. When it's rainy and it's cold and it's dark, yesterday had a meltdown because it was just dark, cold and raining and I wanted to go for a run and I couldn't. I wanted to go for a run because I wanted to wash my hair this morning, but I've committed now. I've washed my hair, so that means I'm not running now. Because if any other girls are out there that have curly hair, you know that it just takes an absolute village to just wash your hair. It's just so annoying. And like, because I have blonde in it and stuff, I don't want to be washing it too much. Anyway, I digress. This time of year is difficult because it's the run up to Christmas and New Year, and people think that you have to be welcoming in the new year with a partner. And it always makes me laugh because I think back to like my first New Year's on my own, and I think like my ex has never spent a Christmas by himself or a New Year's Eve by himself. He's never spent these holidays on his own. So no wonder he said to me, we just want you to be happy, because he has no idea what it's like to spend these months by themselves. So when everything stops in the summer, you're obviously, you know, going on holiday and gallivanting around and doing loads of stuff. The winter months are where people are going on cute little couple in like walks, going to Winter Wonderland, going ice skating, taking cozy pictures of the house being warm. And guess who used to do this? Me. I used to do this. I used to post the cozy photos. I used to make the house cozy. I used to do the cozy meals. I used to post the cozy like relationship posts. I'm not saying any of this is bad and people that do this is bad, because I used to do it. I did it for bloody years. But it's annoying when you haven't got it, especially when you've had it as well. And the one thing that I can't get on board with, and I would never get on board with, are matching pajamas. That for me is just not me. And it just hits you, it slaps you in the face. The couple's wearing the matching pajamas on Christmas Day and you think, another year on my own. And like I just said, it's heightened because I will think like, even though I say that like a lot of things I don't even consider my ex very often, but I kind of laugh about it because I'm like, oh, he's never spent a Christmas by himself. He's always had a girlfriend, and he's never spent a New Year's Eve by himself. He's always had a girlfriend. And yet this is going to be my 22, 23, 24, 25. So this is my 4th year firming a single Christmas. And I think we spiral because we associate seasonal loneliness with unworthiness. And that will be heightened if you do what I do and every winter you check out Hinge. Like, they're not the same thing. Seasonal loneliness and unworthiness, they're not the same things. Winter feels lonely because the days feel shorter, the nights feel longer because it's darker, and it's one of those things that like people do less. I mean, I say that, my friends don't, they're on it 24/7, but people do tend to do less. And I have made a really conscious effort this year to make a lot of plans for my weekends and go to the German markets and, you know, going out for my birthday and making sure I've got lots of like Christmas plans in, and I'm taking a little bit more time off at Christmas this year, and it will be nice. And when I say I'm taking a lot of time off before Christmas, what I mean is that I'm going to do all my content work before Christmas, so then I can actually have some time off. Because when you are in content creation, if I've got anybody who makes content or deals with content creators on here, you will know that like that doesn't stop. If you don't post, you don't earn. So like, to avoid actually being sat on my phone and making content throughout Christmas, I am going to spend a lot of time in December making a lot of my Christmas content, so then I can actually have some time off with the kids and my family this Christmas. And you are spending a lot of time indoors because everything slows down. But what you need to ask yourself, and I want you to ask yourself these 3 things, is what kind of love do you want to attract? How do you want to feel in your next relationship? And what parts of you still need healing to meet them. Now, this is where manifesting begins, because you need to know that Pinterest boards are great, affirmations are great, but this is about deep alignment now. Like, you have got to get so serious with yourself because you have deflated yourself. You've made yourself feel like no one is ever going to date you. No one is out there. You need to get serious with this. This is deep alignment. These questions, you need to be honest with yourself. You need to answer them in a way that you know you are being true to yourself. And I think when you feel deflated about dating, you will then spiral into, there's no one out there. I'm going to be on my own forever. I'm going to be a single aunt. I'm going to have loads of cats. Which is where I was. That was a thing. I was like, oh my God, my standards are too high. I'm too picky. What? No, you're not. No, you're not. Because the things, I'm not asking for £1 million in the bank account. I'm not asking for someone that I can move straight in with and they can retire me. I'm not asking for materialistic things. I'm literally asking for somebody who has potentially been hurt the way that I've been hurt and understands how I feel. I've noticed through my dating sort of experience that people who haven't either been in a long-term relationship or gone through a big breakup cannot kind of fathom why you would want to stay single for so long. So my most recent date, I was chatting, and I will always say that I was in a long-term relationship because a lot of my stories do stem like back to when I was in a relationship, and people do talk to you about your exes, and it just so happens that mine was for a long time. But I realised that this guy who I went on a date with, one of the things that he said to me was, he said that he dated a girl that struggled with her mental health. And I was like, oh, that's why I think people should go to therapy. Like, I've been in therapy. And he was like, oh, what for? And I was like, for my breakup. And he was like, we went to therapy just for a breakup. And I was like, huh, you're not for me. And that's fine. Like, attractive, great job, great career prospects, really nice person. But already on a flippant comment, I saw how surface level he thought about things. And I was like, can tell, like, good for you that you have never been through major heartbreak. But like, that comment alone made me go like, shut down. Because I went on a date with somebody, and I think I could still text this person and be like, do you want to go for a drink? Not in that way, just in like a friend way. We really got on. We went on a few dates. I think it was in like 2023 now. I remember sitting in the pub and him being like, you don't really give a lot away. And I was like, oh no, like, not keeping my cards close to my chest, but like, my past is quite heavy. And when I told him, he was so understanding, and he was like, oh my God, I went through something similar. I was in a relationship for 10 years and my breakup absolutely floored me. And I was like, oh my God, it's like a breath of fresh air talking to somebody that actually gets it. So for me, a big thing would be, not that they've gone through like the worst heartbreak of their life and maybe like were in therapy and stuff, but just to have that understanding as to why it still affects me, why I have PTSD, and why the smell of pasta and cheese could send me into a downward spiral. And I want somebody to be able to understand that it's not silly, it's not just a breakup. My actual motto that I think I should get tattooed on me somewhere, it's not just a breakup. But all these things will come out when you date. So that's where like you can be torn, because it is good to go out and date. It is good to see what you want and what you don't want. But when you don't find what you want, this is where you can find yourself in a bit of a downward spiral. So hopefully this episode will help. But I want to touch on manifesting because it is one of the most spoken about things on my podcast. I get so many messages like, Lou, talk more on manifesting. If you are currently dating because of the fear of being alone, the fear that you are running out of time, you will attract somebody who mirrors that energy. And that is a hill that I'm willing to die on. I have attracted people into my life that are half interested, not ready to commit, because deep down, that is how I was showing up. That is how I show up. Because deep down, I'm like, oh my God, I've got to tell this person that I might not want to live in the UK this year. I'll attract somebody into my life that is also probably a little bit scared of settling down, a little bit scared of society pressures and time running out. And Christ, I went on a date with this guy recently, and what I think he said to me, like, if we were to have children, I was like, what? I've always thought you don't talk about that sort of stuff on a first date as well. I was like, oh, okay. Obviously, if you've been around here for a while, you know that my views on having children have had to recently change because of the operations that I had last year. And I was like, Jesus Christ, but it will make such a difference. You will realize the people that you are attracting into your life are the people that will mirror your fears. So they'll have the same fears. So then you're both dating, like, love bombing each other, probably like this is the best thing ever, and on each other all the time, voice notes, phone calls, late nights, chats, conversations, everything on each other, bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden it will just go poof, because the weather will change. It will come out of winter. Things get more exciting again. You need to start showing up if you are serious about dating. And I mean so serious about dating. I mean, you are sat there listening to this thinking, Lou, I am so serious about dating. I want my husband to be on Hinge. Then you need to start showing up in your full power. You need to start showing up with clear, grounded intentions. You need to stop settling for breadcrumbs, and you need to think that you are so ready for dating. You aren't just dating because you're scared of being alone for Christmas. You're scared of having to celebrate New Year's Eve by yourself again. You're scared about the winter months, January and February and March, being so awful because it's so cold and no one does anything. You need to know that you are not dating for those things, because you will just attract somebody who is also dating for those things. And then in 6 months' time, you'll be back at square one, listening to the first start of my podcast episodes, probably purchasing my no contact course, because you weren't showing up in your full power. This is so important when it comes to manifesting into your life. You have to show up in your full power, otherwise there is no point. And I think it's so easy for people to say, manifesting isn't real. Well, I'm telling you that it is. 1000%. I have proof. If you're new here, you don't know the story about the credit cards, you don't know the story about my car. I have pretty much manifested majority of the good things in my life. You have to know that you are not manifesting a person, you are manifesting a partnership that matches the full version that you have become since your breakup, that you are becoming in your breakup. You want to basically attract a partnership and a relationship. You don't want to attract a person. Stop thinking about they need to have this, they need to have that, and start thinking about, how do I want them to make me feel? What sort of a person are they going to have to be in order to make me feel emotionally secure, emotionally safe? Show up and be intentional. Otherwise, don't do it. Or do it and then don't sit there and think, why am I attracting these people that are wasting my time, that are love bombing me, that are talking to me 24/7, we meet up and then that's it. No good. Like, the only reason why you're attracting those people is because that's how you're thinking in your head, because you have downloaded Hinge because it is cold and because it is October. And this might be hard to hear, and you might be thinking, I haven't done that. Hopefully that manifestation part makes you feel a little bit better if you are hoping to find your husband on Hinge. But I think it is so easy to feel deflated, and dating apps will make you feel deflated because someone will unmatch, someone will ghost, someone will disappear mid-conversation. I've had that happen to me before. Chat, gone. Like, poof, just out the blue. You sit and tell yourself so many times over and over again, oh, it's fine, we only went on one date, didn't really like them, but it chips away at your hope. And that's why you feel deflated. And it's the deflation that comes with dating. And you'll hear so often people say, like, I just can't be bothered. And I think that is just so normal, because the dating apps and the apps world and the online dating world will expose your nervous system to like micro rejections without you really realizing it. And so, yes, you know that, like, oh, well, okay, well, fair enough, don't swipe me, like, don't match me. They're little tiny rejections, and if you stay online long enough, it will chip and chip and chip and chip and that emotional letdown will start to pile up. And I think what you need to realize if you're staying on these apps is that every swipe is not a reflection of your worth. It's not. If people look at you and think, oh no, she's not for me, fine. That's totally fine. The people that don't choose you are not yours, which is a really basic statement to make, but sometimes you need the reminder. And sometimes the rejection and being told, hey, like, had a really nice date, but you're not for me, is the redirection onto a path that you may have just wandered off for a while. You may have just done like a little detour, like, oh, now you need to get back on straight path, which is where I think I was. I had a little bit of a detour and I thought, oh yeah, dating apps, great. Winter, cuffing season, great. No, it was a big fat like diversion off the path that I should have been on and that I have basically worked all year to be on. And it has taken me 2 dates and a week on a dating website. I think I actually ended up on there for 2 weeks. It's gone now, it's deleted. To redirect me. And sometimes you need that. So I'm not saying don't get on the dating apps, but just notice how you're feeling when you're on there. Notice how you are showing up on there. And are you feeling exhausted because you're not getting the feedback that you want? Are you feeling exhausted because the micro rejections, the little like, oh, like you're not really my type, you're too far away, you're this, you're that. I should have known. One of the people that I went on a date with recently said that they were really picky. And it did make me think like, oh, am I going to be able to cope with this? Because I'm not very good with rejection. So if they pick something out in me, I'm going to be like, should I change that? I'm that type of person that would take that to heart. If they said, you've got really big feet, I'd be like, oh, I can't really change the size of my feet. But also, why would you want to be with somebody that picky? I don't get it. It's like, you're not my husband, because my husband wouldn't even be bothered about the size of my feet. And also, maybe there should be a problem with the size of your feet. Why are your feet so small? That's just an example. But I want you to be able to reconnect with hope. And even though like the dating apps and online dating is slow and can really demotivate you from a dating perspective, I just want to remind you that like if you are going to delete the apps after listening to this, that like you're not behind. No one has a timeline of your life. No one is supposed to say like you're supposed to be doing this by the time you're this. That is one of the most irritating things that I hate, that people putting a timer on your life when it is your life. Just because they're settled down, got a house, 3 children by the age of 32, why do you have to do it? And I think I struggle with that the most because my life was heading in that direction. And now when I look, I don't want to settle down. I was literally saying this to my mum last night because my mum will say like, oh, anyone on the scene? And I'm like, no, Elaine. No, you'd know if there was. Well, she wouldn't. I'd probably keep it a secret for a while. But like, I have no desire to live that life at all. I have no desire. And when I think back, and I have to remind people that like I lost my job last year and I have had to work my friggin' bum off to keep my head above water for the last year. I was connected to my ex literally right up until July last year. And yes, people go, yeah, but a lot can happen in a year. You try living unemployed when you have a house and a mortgage and a life to live. You try living that. You tell me that a lot can happen in a year. Christ, this year has been very hard financially for me. And I sit there and I think sometimes like, hold on a second, I'm not behind. I just haven't rushed anything. I also haven't sat and made a clear, defined list of everything that I wanted because it has been so important for me, like I said, to be able to get back on my feet financially. And I didn't want to have any distractions. And I was having this conversation the other day with my friend and she was saying that you can do both at the same time. For me, I can't. And what I mean by that is that I have been part of a business before with my ex and I came so far down that priority list and I came fourth to pretty much him, his business, his work, his friends. Like I was so far down the pecking order that I would never do that to somebody else. If I'd met someone at the start of this year and wanted to experience and grow and expand everything I wanted to do, they would come secondary to that. And I wouldn't want that, because I hated it when it was me. And I want to be able to get to the point where this is so much easier. At the minute, I'm like recording here, recording there, because I'm doing everything on my own. I want to be able to have an editor that I can send stuff to. I want to be able to have somebody do my socials. Eventually, I see this becoming huge. And I know that I'm going to have a team of people around me. But currently, right now, in the stages that I'm at and the growth and everything, it has to be me. And the compromise, I guess, that I make with that is the fact that I don't really have time for anything else. I have time for me, my family and my friends. And yes, I am getting to the point where I'm like, dating doesn't scare me. And I've said I'm ready to open my heart up again, definitely. But that doesn't mean that I have to fulfill that, because it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I am ready to open my heart up. 2 years ago, there was not one part of me that ever wanted to be in a relationship ever again. And now I get excited about the thought of being in a relationship. I put the slow cooker on last night and I was like, I'm such a wife material, like with my slow cooker, my glass of red. And it was, yeah, of course it's going to be nice to have someone dancing around the kitchen with you eventually, but like, you don't have to rush anything. And so if you're listening to this thinking, I can't go through this again, I need to delete the apps, like, good, go back to yourself for a while. You know, your husband isn't on Hinge. Just remind yourself that your husband isn't on Hinge because you're not on Hinge. You're not on Hinge, and yet you are secure, single, totally happy with how your life's going at the moment. You're not on Hinge. So that doesn't mean that the person that you're going to meet has to be on Hinge. They could be in the coffee shop, they could be in the library, they could be in the gym, they could be in the airport. And I think when you raise your standards and you listen to actually what you're saying to yourself on these dating apps and what you are delivering out and who you're liking, if you actually raise your standards and raise your frequency, life will start to reflect that massively. So at the end of this episode, I want you to really get honest with yourself and clear and write your non-negotiables. Like, not, they've got a dog, they're 6 foot, they're funny. These are all great things, and that these are personality traits that you find attractive, and they're totally fine to have, and it doesn't make you superficial, it doesn't make you shallow. It's just things that, you know, you'd quite like. I would quite like somebody to look after themselves, be a little bit buff, have muscles and have a few tattoos. I mean, I want them to be covered in tattoos because I just got a thing with tattoos. But like the tattoo thing's like a running joke in my family, the fact that my ex never had one, and yet my clear defined type of people is somebody that is covered in tattoos. It's hilarious. But like, don't get too caught up on those. Think about the core stuff. Do they value growth? Are they a good communicator? Do you feel emotionally safe with them? Are they going to make you feel safe? Do they show up for you? Do they buy you a birthday card? Like little things like that. If you've been here for a while, you know that the last birthday card that my ex gave me should have been the biggest red flag ever. I literally sat there and I was like, this is just from a garage. Like, you've put no thought into this whatsoever. And every single year, like, he was with me for 14 years. Why didn't he not know that, like, I would have just been happy with a card and a cake? I didn't need to have an expensive handbag. I didn't need to have expensive jewelry. I was asked what I wanted, and of course, you know, I'd say like, oh, I'd like a new bracelet or whatever. But if he never asked and he just shown up with a card and a cake, I would have been more than happy. I remember my friend last year when I said my ex only ever bought me a cake once, and that's because I drilled into him, I want a carrot cake for my birthday. So he went and he had a carrot cake made for my birthday, but that was the only time. And my friend last year bought me a cake for my birthday, a gluten-free one, and I could have cried. And he was like, you know, this isn't normal, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I'm fully aware. I've been in therapy for this sort of stuff because those sorts of things are husband energy, and that is the kind of love that builds a home. And I was around all my friends this weekend and they had all their children with them, and I thought, I am not doing this half-arsed. I'm not doing this half-arsed. I'm not just settling because society says I need to settle. I'm 32. I'm not 62. Like, I am not at the point in my life where I need to start panicking about my future. I need to worry about what I'm having for dinner this evening. Has Morrison's got any chilled Cremant? What am I going to eat for my dinner? And how am I going to spend this weekend? Sometimes I look too far ahead in the future, and And it's so normal, and dating apps will emphasize the fact that you are on your own. And it's not very nice, but do not let that consume you. And so I wanted to just leave you with some practical advice, because I like giving advice. That's what I'm here for. So I've written a list of things. So I've written down, reset your approach to dating. Only get on those dating apps when you are in the right headspace. If you open Hinge and sigh, delete it. If you find yourself nitpicking against you, proving yourself, checking if someone's replied, getting really caught up in Hinge, delete it. You are not in the right headspace to be on there. Therefore, you are only going to attract people that are not going to be good for you. Trust me. If you are out there dating and you're confidently dating, remind yourself that you are looking for consistency, not chasing chemistry. The minute you start looking for consistency, if that one thing, if they drop off for a week, so sorry I was poorly. No, it takes 2 seconds to text that. I don't understand where this narrative of if you take 7 hours to reply, I'm going to take 7 hours to reply. If I see your message, I'm replying. And I don't care what that means. And I don't care if people say, oh, well, she's really needy, she's really keen. No, I'm just communicating and being respectful. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you reply too fast. That is not a thing. Thirdly, mirror the energy that you want to attract. So if you want someone to be grounded, be grounded. If you want honesty, be radically honest with yourself. Are you online for the right reasons? If it's a no, come off. You're not being honest with yourself. If you're not being honest with yourself, how's someone going to be honest with you? You will attract it. Trust me, even if you don't believe in manifesting in the universe, you will attract it, because energy is everything. Energy is everything. You cannot argue with that. Energy is everything. And if you put out into the universe and you're not being honest with yourself, somebody won't be honest with you. So I will go back to my earliest piece of advice. Take yourself on dates. Make your life exciting again. Don't pinpoint your excitement on having somebody else in your life. You have friends, you have family. Make plans with them. Tonight, my best friend's in Lisbon. My right arm is in Lisbon. That means I have no plans, which some would argue is actually all right. A break on my liver, because the next couple of weekends are pretty hardcore. But I'm like, oh my God, my best friend's in Lisbon. We spend every Friday together. I could have then reached out to a different friend and said, hey, what are you doing? But I'm not. I'm going to go and see my family. I'm going to go spend time with my nephews, because it's Friday night. And I just think, why not? Like, why not make life exciting? There's so many people that I could spend time with. I don't have to be with a boy, or a man. And finally, get comfortable with visualizing. So visualize a feeling, not a person. Visualize yourself being safe. Visualize being at ease. Visualize being calm and having great communication, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and experience. So if you visualize something beautiful, if you visualize being in this relationship where you feel amazing, where you feel safe, where you feel like nothing's a challenge, when you feel, they're not putting their problems on you, you're not putting their problems on them, that you are just a team and you've come together as a team, why can't that be true? Give yourself something beautiful to believe in, because it will happen. And like I say, I know how to manifest. I don't do it every day. I haven't done it for a while. I haven't got focused on something for a while. I say that, I've got something on my pin board that I look at every day and I think I'm going to exceed that by the end of this year, which is wild. But when you start getting serious about manifesting, things do happen, good things do happen, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it might not happen in a month, but it may happen in 6. You don't know. Basically, for those who don't know, I think it was a year of credit card statements come through, and I scribbled them out and put 0, scribbled them out and put 0, scribbled them out, put 0, and then all of a sudden, my credit card debt got wiped because I was on the wrong interest rates. I thought about it, and then I didn't think about the how. Take the how out of it. That is not up to you. That is up to the universe. How you meet this person isn't up to you. You don't have to go out and find them. All you need to do is be clear, concise, and firm on what you want and how you feel and how it's going to impact your life. And trust me, something good will always come out of that. So as we move into winter, The season isn't about lack. It's about you being rooted. It's about you really knuckling down and being like, if I can get through the winter, I can get through anything. Trust me, this is my 4th winter of being by myself. If you can get through the winter, you can literally get through anything, because they're hard. It is hard. It is hard. And Christmas Day sometimes, like, yeah, you just want to, cuddle up on the sofa with somebody. Like Christmas Eve, you do want to watch the films and cuddle up on someone's sofa. Great. But you're going to have the rest of your life with somebody to do that. So go out, go and enjoy yourself, because one day your paths will meet. You just have to stay confident in the fact that they will meet. And like I said at the start of this episode, I needed this episode as much as you guys probably needed this episode. I needed to be reminded that my husband wasn't on Hinge. I need to be reminded that I'm only feeling like this for the winter. I need to be reminded the fact that when I'm ready and when I'm open and my heart is open and I'm manifesting, someone will come into my life, and the how doesn't matter. I just need to know that they're going to be the type of person that is going to make me feel safe and secure. So then one day I'm going to turn around to everybody else on this podcast and say, hey, guess what? My husband wasn't on Hinge. Facts. Because I met him in an airport. I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I really enjoyed that episode. Slightly longer today, I think. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Share with your friends. Your friends might not have gone through a breakup. They might just be dating at the moment and finding it really difficult. So share this with all your friends. If you want 2 additional episodes a week, then please sign up to my Patreon. The link's in all of my bios. If you need help with no contact, my course is still available, will be available till the end of time. I actually sold a hell of a lot this month. It's actually wild. So if you have any questions about that, please just reach out to me. Like I said, I get in contact with everybody about once a week on my Instagram. So if I don't reply straight away, I have probably got your message. It is sitting in my inbox, but it just takes me a while to get to them, because if I replied and then replied and then replied, I'd be glued to my phone 24/7 and my screen time is already ridiculous. So we don't want to be adding to that. But like I said, if you do want a big, deeper chat with me, then you can come over to my Patreon. I'm there and I'm more responsive on my DMs over there. Just because you're paying for a service, and I like to be able to give people what they pay for. So yes, if you need me, you know where I am. If you want me to talk on anything, then just drop me a message and I will try and incorporate it into the next 3 months content plan. If not, guys, I will see you back here on Friday. Thank you for joining me. As always, look after yourself. Bye.